Welcome to Mendezville Live, where it's something to talk about. Here is Rudy Mendez.
What's going on, Mendezville Live? We got another episode for you guys tonight. It's pretty good. I got a nice special guest. We go way back to my UTSA days. Good old fraternity brother of mine. But we'll have him on the show here in a little bit. We're going to talk some health issues and some knowledge about his journey. Today's broadcast is brought to you by World Finance. When life throws unexpected expenses your way, World Finance is here to help. Whether it's medical bills, car repairs, or child care expenses, a personal installment or title loan can help you take control and get back to the good things in life. Even if you have a low credit score or no credit score, they will help you get the money you need. Get started by applying today at their Mission location at 1600 North Conway, Suite A, Mission, Texas. They can take applications by phone at 956-580-4533, 956-580-4533, or you can visit their website at loansbyworld.com. They are accepting applications with matriculas, passport, or ITIN. You do not need to have a social to apply. All loans are subject to their usual credit underwriting policies. And also by For Life Together Building People, we are the immune system company, independent distributor Rodolfo Mendez. You can find products at www.forlife.com/Rudy Mendez. All right. Before we continue, just to make sure we talk about the last candidate I had, it was very interesting. That's been on my mind. She mentioned about something about the budget and the 14.9 students to teacher ratio. That's very interesting. I need to do more research on that formula. I need to do research on other districts. I'm assuming that most of them are the same. I think it's total teachers, not just the actual teachers, but total professional teachers in the whole district compared to student population, which begs the question, I wonder how many districts in the actual state of Texas are really pushing to have less than 22 kids per class. Forget the formula. It's actual bodies in the classroom. 22 or less. I'm a big believer if the less students you have in a class, the more productive you are and the better we can build students and their knowledge and citizens of the community and the nation. But that's just my spiel for today. That's my little monologue. Without further ado, let's bring in my guest. Currently a pharmaceutical specialist extraordinaire, my main man fraternity brother, Adrian Garcia, a.k.a. TA. What's going on? What's
going on, brother? Finally made the show, man. We've been talking about this for a while. Looks exciting. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, I'm excited, man. You know, I'm glad our schedules finally made it to be together here on the show, man. I know you're a dad. How's dad life?
Dad life is excellent, man. I fought off the dad bod for a few years, and after COVID, it kind of crept in, man. It snuck up on me at 41, so.
Yeah, it snuck up on me too, man. I was doing fairly well. I was fighting it, and then COVID just, whatever. I'll tell you what, though. I had when we reopened up the gyms, I went back and I was like, okay, I'm back. I'm halfway there to get back where I'm supposed to be. And then my wife comes in after the spike. She works at a hospital, ICU, and all these COVID patients. She goes, "You're not going to the gym anymore." And I'm like, "No, and sure enough, what I had lost that month came back real quick in 2 weeks.
Yeah, man. Metabolism is a real deal. Metabolism is the mother of mortality, brother. Yeah. Metabolism is the mother of mortality.
TA, man. You don't even go by TA anymore. Now you go by Adrian?
No, I go by TA. I go by TA.
Cool. All right, cool.
Yeah, the only people that call me Adrian are my wife and, basically people that know me from, like my day ones, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But, and usually when they say that, it's not in a good tone either, so I got to keep it consistent.
Yeah, good old TA. There's a lot of memories we cannot share on live television.
We cannot. It's a former life.
Yeah.
You and I had the privilege of growing up in an era before social media. So.
Oh man. I was talking to Nicholas Monroe the other day, and he started telling me stories. I was like, man, remember that time? Remember that? Man, I'll tell you what, you are correct. We are very fortunate that we were in a time without social media, man.
Decisions matter, bro. Decisions matter. I spend I volunteer a lot of my time working with young people, mostly high school kids, some college kids, but mostly kids from 6th through 12th grade, with the majority of them being in high school.
Yeah, man.
It's a different world, man. It is a different world for young people right now. Actions always have consequences, but they've never had greater consequences that they do now.
Because now there's a record. There's a photo. There's a comment thread. Whatever. Now there's records. People can search you.
Yep.
I'll tell you what. So the public and for the fraternity brothers out there or any public that's watching, I still remember the day. I hadn't seen you in years. I walk into some doctor's office. I walk in, the seats, I walk in, the chair, the chair, like the 2 rows to the right, 2 rows to the left. I walk up to the little window and I just hear someone say, "Yit boss." I'm like, whoa. I was like, who said that? And it was you. Remember that?
I remember that.
I was like, what, 6-7 years ago? They're in Mission on
it was
45.
Probably more like 10, man.
Maybe.
It's been a while. Yeah, it was a long while.
I was like, well, TA, what are you doing here in the Mission? I didn't know you lived here in the McAllen area.
Man, I was one of those people that when I moved to the Valley, I've been here since 2004. So I graduated college in 03.
Oh, so you graduated and you just took off this way?
Yeah. So I ended up landing a job down here. Jobs were very hot. I mean, they still are hot here. And I was one of these people that's like, well, I'm going to move to the Valley, get my experience, and then move to the city of my choosing. And that was 16 years ago. And so the city of my choosing is Edinburgh. I like it here. We made a life here. And all 4 of my children were born in Mission. So, we spend a lot of time in Mission. We don't live there, but like our church is there. So it's good people, man.
Yeah. So when you moved, so you graduated UTSA. So how far? So when you moved to the Valley, did you already have that training as a background, or how'd you end up down here?
Yeah. So when I went to college, I wanted to be a teacher and a coach, right? So. Baseball was life. My brother got drafted by the Reds, and it's just we're a baseball family. And when I coached for a year, and then I realized, like, man, I realized the importance of being an educator, and I realized that it's not for everybody. And I think that's a really important distinction, because I knew, like, man, if I'm going to really be providing for the youth and these kids, I better have some freaking passion, bro. Right. Like, I better make that my top priority. Right. And I think I can honestly admit I was one of these people that I was more baseball coach than I was educator. And in other words, I was there for the wrong reason. And we all had that awesome coach where you know what I mean? Like, you watch Jerry Springer, and they were, the assistant the backs and receivers coach, but they taught you history or whatever it was, right? And I just knew that I didn't want to be like that, man. If I was going to be a teacher, I wanted to teach. So I taught geometry, and then I realized that I wasn't passionate about being a teacher. I was doing it for the wrong reason, and so I stopped doing that.
I'll tell you what, though, more power to you, the fact that you were able to self-evaluate that. And you got out of there, because there's people that, stay in there, and it's an injustice for those that don't leave when they're supposed to, and they know that. I'll give you my hats off to you for being able to be self-aware.
Yeah, self-awareness is huge, man. And so right around that time, I was communicating with another friend of mine. Yeah, it's another mutual friend, Dante Delgado. He was doing pharma.
Baby, that's the Godfather right there.
That's the Godfather right there.
So wait, time out. So you graduate. What year did you graduate UTSA?
2003.
2003, and then you did your 2003, 2004 school year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, so I student taught, and I went. I did it was weird the way it worked out for me. So I was actually one of the people who was able to go back to my hometown, and
Coyotes.
Well, no, because it's La Pryor Bulldog, baby. Oh, got that Bulldog pride, not Matt Kai.
I ended up in La Pryor one time, officiating, scorekeeping.
You must have had some wrong career choices, man.
I was starting out, but I've been there, man. That's right.
Yeah, don't blink because you miss it. But it was awesome, man. It was a beautiful year. I got to go back and reconnect with my people, get to give back to a little bit to the people that gave so much to me.
Yeah.
And my heart's there, man. I mean, it was awesome to go and just be on that field again, coaching kids. Where I played, it's super special. Not everybody gets a chance to do that.
Yeah. Most educators always want to go back to their alma mater. I know when I decided to come back, I mean, I was already at the university level, and Adolph, my brother, was coaching, and I said, man, I need to go back and share all this information I have, man. I gotta share the wealth.
It was weird, man, because when you're 23, it's weird how like kids, they treat you like you're like the young cool teacher that they feel like they can get away with. Oh, then he's a coach, and then you're in the small town, so everybody knows you. It was a very unique year, to say the least.
Yeah. So then you decide to leave education. So then what happens after that with Dante?
Yeah. So even before all that, man, I came from a hardworking family. So they always said, work hard, right? Even, when I was in college, I almost worked about 40 hours a week, just, with the full-time schedule. So us, man, Hispanic people, we are not lazy. We work hard, we hustle, we get after it. So I worked at a pharmacy during college. So during that time, I used to see these people that wanted to come in and talk to the pharmacist. They gave us free pins and they had different names. And I was like, what do they do? Yeah. And so then I realized that a friend of mine actually did that. And I was like, man, I could really do that. I like talking to people. I like wearing nice suits and ties. Let's go for it, man. Yeah. So I started chipping away. I started looking at the pharmaceutical industry, started looking at its pros, its cons. Yeah. And I decided to break in, and I did in 2005. I started in 2005.
So for example, maybe young kids that might watch my show and that they say, hey, you know what, that's a career option. What does that entail when you say, okay, I'm going to do this? What are like the 2 or 3 main steps that you need to get started there, or at least when you did it?
So the industry's changed a lot. It's moved a lot more for, it's, when I started, it was very, those jobs were hot. So it was not uncommon to get referred by somebody. And so typically what you want is you want a 4-year degree in science or in business. And so people that have, let's say like a Bachelor of Science degree with a master's in business, they get their MBA. Yeah. They do very, very well in this industry because you have the clinical background that you have to go and have advanced conversations with most of the conversations I have are with medical doctors, physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and pharmacists. Okay. And so, if you have the science background with the business background, you're able to kind of, get the best of both worlds. So whenever I jumped in the industry, I had, an education background. And it's weird because now I see a lot of the good drug reps, they're very good teachers. They used to be teachers, whether they were college professors or they were trainers in their old job, or they were just school teachers who, again, self-evaluated, say, my heart's not in this. I'm ready for a career change. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way it happened. I started looking at it. I started networking, started making contacts, learning about different therapeutic areas. Just really immersed myself into the industry. I got familiar with the companies. I started learning about the products, right? The top selling medications of all time. And then started looking at different company pipelines on what's coming out in the future. And so, yeah, I mean, knowledge is power, baby.
So did you go to did you apply to be like at a, do they train you, or you just apply for a company? Where did Dante come in? How did he guide you, or how did that work? Or how does that work?
Yeah. So what I did was I took a lot of time where I just learned. And so for anybody watching, if you really want something, it's going to cost you. There's nothing in this life that is free. You're going to have to get after it. And so I added, I think about 6 to 8 weeks where I shadowed Dante, right? I rode with him. I would see what it was like. I would go and follow with him. I'd wait, I was ready to go at 7 o'clock and the guy wouldn't show up till like 9:15. So there I am reading books, and then we drive around the city of San Antonio, talking to different customers about, just different, different patient types and the medications that he had at the time. And so you apply, right? Just like anything else. I think back in the day, it was like monster.com. And I was sending applications. I was driving to job fairs.
Okay.
Man, I just, your question brings back a lot of memories, a lot of memories. I remember I couldn't get in, right? And I would get a lead. So anybody that's listening to this that's struggling for a job or a career, check this out, man. You get out of it what you put into it. I remember economically I had sacrificed a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, man, I'm leaving my apartment. I'm just going to drive around Texas in my truck. I have my suits ironed. I don't care where I sleep. I don't care what it takes. Like I'm going to get a job and I'm going to do it this month. And I resigned on the job that I had at the time. And I just did it. I put my back against the wall and there was no other option. Like you got to get it. You have to come through. And there was a couple of letdowns where I would get the interview and like 3 days later, they would send me the dreaded email. We're sorry, Mr. Garcia. Unfortunately, we have decided to not extend the job offer at this time. And those are heartbreaking, but they build character, man. They build character.
Yeah. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep pushing through, man.
You got to keep pushing through.
Man, I can only imagine, man.
Yeah. So then the third time, I learned from my mistakes. The first time I knew I botched it. I botched the interview. It was a corporate panel interview, and it was crash and burn.
It was a learning
Second
moment.
time.
It was a learning moment.
Learning mode. There is no failure. There is either learning or there's success.
Right.
Failure is when you quit, right?
Yeah.
So the second time, I thought I did really well, and they hired a person who had 10 years experience. And I'm like, can't beat that.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
And she was working for Pfizer. Pfizer at that point was like the king of pharma.
Yeah.
Somebody who worked for Pfizer for a decade and versus me, it's like, it's rough,
Yeah.
Killing Goliath, man. And then the third time I was like, I got this. And so I got it. And I've been in the industry ever since.
So you get it, and then what? Do you go through a training process, or do you, like, I'm assuming they train you a little bit, don't they?
Yeah. So whenever you get a medication, you go pick it up at the pharmacy, and they staple a bunch of papers there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever read that?
No. I just take it. Just how many do I need to take, and that's it.
That's it, right? So what that is it's important safety information. We call it ISI. And so the way the training program works is it's a little bit different now. It's a little bit more relaxed now. Not that compliance is relaxed, but it's just the clinical, the pharmaceutical industry changed where it's more about managed care, formulary coverage, and less about clinical benefit, right? In other words, you have to be able to afford these medicines, right? But the training consisted of 3 months. When I got hired, I had to go to Delaware. Every company has a different training center.
Okay.
So yeah, you're in a classroom and they teach you everything.
Oh, snap.
So that the medicines I had back then, they were for cardiovascular disease. And so they start off very basic. These are the chambers of the heart, the circulatory system, right? The organs. Like it's this very high school.
It's like a biology high school class,
that's where it starts.
College.
Mm-hmm. That's where it starts, but where it ends, it's the human brain is incredible, man, which you can cram into that thing in 30 days. So going back to what I was saying about the papers that you get stapled to your prescription, right?
Yeah.
There's this thing called a package insert. Every medication has a package insert. It's anywhere from 4 to 25 pages long. And so the training program consists of not just understanding clinical information at a semi high level, but you're responsible for everything on that package insert: clinical trials, patients, side effects, contraindications, all kinds of stuff, right? So because you're having conversations with people that are going to prescribe these medications, and so you have to know your stuff because you're responsible for it. You're the face of the company, and the FDA doesn't play around. Like, you have to make good choices, tell the truth.
So then part of that insert, like, you make it, or you have to know what the information that's in that insert?
You have to know the information that is in that insert.
So when you come to a doctor's office or whatever you're going to talk to, you got to know all that information.
Absolutely. You have to be able to answer parts of that package insert. And if you don't know, or you're not authorized to give an answer, you have to connect the person asking the question with the medical person, right? So at that point, it's not sales, it's medical. And so, that's and every company has been like that I worked for in the past.
Nice.
So it's really neat, man. I mean, it's really neat. In our community, there's just a lot of preventable disease, and then there's a lot of disease that's not preventable. And so how do we provide the education to ensure that the public stays healthy and safe, right?
We got a guy like you on Mendezville Live to teach us a little bit.
Yeah, man. I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, like, aside from just career path and all of those things, knowledge is power, man. I have so many people that say that to me. Knowledge is power, and it really is. It really is. The way we live our lives, the way we manage our health, the way we advance our careers, the way we lead our families. Sure. Knowledge is power, man. Knowledge is power.
So then let me ask you this: with knowledge, is you talk about you start off with a cardiovascular. I know in the Valley we suffer a lot of high blood pressure and cholesterol, and of course I push my supplement, but it's just a supplement, and it's just to help. You can't compare it to a medicine, but help us understand a little bit of what kind of help you were giving people when you got to the Valley with that target market, I guess.
Yeah. So back then, the company that I worked for then, so I won't be talking about any of the companies that I worked for, just because there's compliance and there's guidelines. Yeah. But back then, the company was very they had a huge focus on doing community outreaches, right? So we would just give away a lot of literature in English and in Spanish, different cities across the United States, to educate the public around, heart attack, stroke prevention, cholesterol levels, just different practical things that people can do, small changes that they can make that can help them live longer, healthier lives. Well, and so that's what I really liked,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, what happened? You were there for how many years?
I was there for 8 years, and then I transitioned over to a different company where, we do a lot of diabetes treatment, a lot of different.
Big here in the Valley.
It is, man. It really is, and I think now, this might actually switch topics here over to COVID-19.
Okay.
And I have the privilege of talking to a lot of people in the medical community. And one of the things that we have found, or that I've observed just from, talking to people in other places who have the advantage of, just looking at medicine, healthcare, diseases in different ways. One of the things that nobody's really talking about in the Valley is how COVID-19 disproportionately kills more Hispanic and African American people. I haven't seen that story in the media. And I believe that we'll be doing a lot of case studies in the future about what has happened and what is currently happening and what is going to continue to happen for the next year or so. That is a huge, huge untold story that continues to unravel every hour of every day here.
What do you think? It's just the mix?
I don't know. We don't know. One of the things that we're seeing is the weight, right? So the heavier a person is, that seems to be of a huge issue. No pun intended, right?
Right.
You know, the human body isn't meant to carry extra weight. It's an inefficient situation, and the body is amazing. Like it adapts in ways that we don't really fully understand. Like it tries to, whether it's the way the brain functions or whether it's the way the organs redo what they do, whether it's like the pancreas or the liver, it tries to keep you alive longer. It tries to adapt. However, when you have a disease that's unknown to humanity and people are overweight, that's a bad combination. And unfortunately, the Hispanic community, the African American community, because for a lot of economic reasons and genetic factors, we're just bigger people. And I think over the next 5 years, we're going to see a lot of information come out around different case studies and studies that are going to be conducted in the future.
When you talk overweight, are you talking about like obese or just 30, 40 pounds, or like what are you talking about there?
Yeah. So, well, we know that being overweight's not good. Look at me, man. I'm looking at my camera. It's like, wow, the COVID diet didn't do me any favors. If you look at our culture, Rudy, it's not, if you're at a healthy weight, especially people that have grandmas, you guys are going to identify with this. You try to get healthy, you lose a few pounds. The question comes up, what's wrong? Why are you this way? Like, what is it? Are you depressed? Are you sad? It's like, no, man.
¿Por qué estás tan flaco?
¿Por qué estás tan flaco, mijo? I'm not. I'm actually 15 pounds overweight, man. I'm not skinny by any means.
Right.
Or if you go to somebody's house, this is a cultural thing. You go to somebody's house and you don't eat everything on the plate. Well, you didn't like my food, man. Like, what's up? Like, why didn't you didn't like my cooking or what? Or if you don't take a plate to go, right? Yeah. And so all that whole cultural thing, I think it comes from a culture of scarcity, right? When we look at our predecessors, right? I know I'm speaking about my family, right? So, you can add caveats to you or yours, but came from a place of scarcity, man. There wasn't a lot of wealth where I come from. People worked hard. You ate what there was. There was no picking and choosing. We didn't really grow up in restaurants when I was a kid. We went to restaurants on special occasions, but it wasn't part of our normal everyday lifestyle, right? I mean,
right.
We didn't waste money on that stuff. We had bills to pay.
Yeah.
And so whenever you ate what there was. Well, the problem is now is because of credit and, we've kind of evolved and adapted. Well, now there's restaurants on every corner, man.
Yeah, man.
So we like to eat.
I'll tell you what, with my kids, like if you ask them, what's Coke bad for? And they'll tell you it's bad for the pancreas. And too much sugar is bad for, like I teach them, you cannot eat too much sugar. And why not? Because it's going to hurt your pancreas. And another thing I do is growing up in my family was, you better eat everything that's on your plate. And I got used to that. And with these guys, they're they'll leave half of a plate. And it's and they'll be like, Daddy, I'm full. I'm like, well, don't eat. Make sure you drink water. Or drink water. See, my thing is, I'm trying to teach them that it's okay to stop eating when your body tells you that you're full or that you start feeling that. because I don't want them overeating when they're older. Because I do it because whatever they don't eat, I end up eating it myself. I'm like, I can still fit some more in there instead of I already ate enough. There's no need for me to eat anymore in the caloric numbers of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know. And that's the brain working against you, right? So try this for anybody listening. When you serve yourself an entire huge portion of food, eat half of your plate. Eat half of the food that's on your plate. Wait 10 minutes. Just pause. Just pause. Hit the pause button. Wait 5 to 10 minutes. If you're still hungry, you can finish it.
You won't eat it.
You will not eat it.
You won't eat
Your
it.
brain knows it's enough. However, we scarf the food down so quick, you don't allow the neurotransmitter dysfunction that's happening in your brain time to reset and slow down. Yeah. Just pause. Wait 5-10 minutes. I tell people that, they have all these diets and they have all of these different things, right? Like there's the Mediterranean diet, then there's the Atkins diet, there's the keto diet, then there's timed eating, and all of that is great. But if you just eat half the food that's on your plate and wait 10 minutes, you won't eat the other half.
Yeah.
Your body tells you stop.
Speaking of which, I started about a year and a half ago. I'm going to go on 2 years now. I started the time restrictive eating or the intermittent fasting, where I was a big believer in you had to eat breakfast. And I saw some video and I said, it kind of makes sense. And I started doing it. I thought it was going to be hard. And instead of eating my breakfast taco at 7 in the morning, I would take my protein shake at 10 in the morning. And ever since then, I just can't eat before 10. I don't like eating before 10. And sometimes I wait till 1. The only problem is that when I do get there till 1, I scarf that whole plate down. I don't wait 10 minutes for half. I just go at it. So, but I mean, when I am disciplined during school, regular school, man, it helps tremendously. So
you're saying what? So you eat at 10? And what was the last time you ate the night? It goes into the night before.
So what I do, when I started doing that, I would get my 4-Life protein shake at 10 a.m. Right? It was my conference. This was like a year before pre-COVID stuff. 10 a.m. Then I had my lunch at 1. I either go to Subway or get some 2 tacos from the corner store, carne asada con arroz, delicious. And then I would eat when I got home after practice around 7. And that's it. So after 7:30, my window was closed. So I wouldn't go eat again till 10. So it helped me out. I'm not a fan of the whole keto. I do know it works, but I'm not a fan of it because I see how the muscles like if they don't train, like I could tell when certain people, like if I see somebody, I'm like, they're probably on keto because the body definition is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. And also, the ketogenic diet, it's very meat based, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cheeses, a lot of meats. And from, I got a lot of friends that tell me that they did it. I mean, I personally, I did keto for 6 weeks. I was training twice a day. This is 2015. I was the best shape of my life, man. Keto diet. I lost 48 pounds in about 6.5 weeks.
I mean, it works. You'll lose
pounds. It works.
You'll lose pounds. I did
You'll lose pounds. But I believe that you have to really incorporate exercise with that.
Yeah.
Because if you're just eating meat and cheese and you're not really exercising, I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem normal, right? I mean, it's like a hunters and gatherers diet. If you look at the genetic code, humanity is not meant to be sitting down all the time.
Yeah. No, it's not.
We're not supposed to be sedentary.
Yeah.
You look at our genetic code, what did we do, right? What did we do even 100 years ago? People were out moving their body all day, every day. If you look before the Industrial Revolution, what did people do? They were hunters and gatherers. They were farmers. It was hard physical labor, and they didn't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They moved their body all day and they ate once, maybe twice, whatever there was. And it was organic and it was fresh and it wasn't huge portions.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I'll tell you what though, when it comes to this for life stuff that I tell everybody, look, I get it. You probably think I'm trying to sell you stuff. I say, and I tell them, I was like, look, you have to understand that the SAD, the Standard American Diet, what it is now to compare to the 60s and 70s, it's not, the nutrition is not the same. You can't compare. And I always tell them, you need to help your body a little bit, whether it's my supplements or any supplements, but it's like you're saying, natural foods, and move your body a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what is that natural food? Like, think about that. Like, if you eat corn, have you ever eaten corn that's grown on somebody's property, and then corn that you buy out of the can or buy at HEB that's non-organic? It tastes different. Have you done that lately?
Not with corn. I know I'm a fan of the bananas and the fruit. When it's fruits, I like the natural stuff. I'll pay the extra for the natural stuff.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. So my dad, he has chickens, right? So his thing is, he's one of these old school hardcore military people, right? I don't really need restaurants. I'll self-sustain, right? If I want eggs, they're outside, kind of a thing. So I went back home and I visited, and I was just, man, these eggs taste so good. He's like, yeah, come look at this. So he cracks the egg and he shows me. It's like an egg that his chickens lay, and the yolk is so dark. I mean, it's almost orange. Nice. And he's like, look at this. Look at the ones from the grocery store. And they're different. And you can taste the difference. And I'm wondering, like, what are the consequences of consuming food like this day after day, year after year for an entire lifetime, for a generation? Like, what are we doing to ourselves?
I think most Americans end up suffering from some kind of health issue. And we're in it. We're in it right now.
We are, man.
So that's why, hey, and because of that, you get to make a good ton of cash.
What's that?
Because people are getting sick, you get to help them out by the different medications that you push or that you help, not that you promote.
Yeah, no, I know, man. I mean, I think healthcare is interesting, right? Like, I think right now our culture is in a place where getting sick sucks, and I know it's. I think this whole COVID nightmare has really brought healthcare to a different thought process, right? I mean, there's a lot of people who they look at doctors like going to the doctor like when you're sick, but what about going to the doctor so you won't get sick? Why do we have to wait till we're sick to go see a doctor? Why can't I go see a physician that's going to help me make better choices to where we prevent this disease tree, right? So true healthcare, because what we have right now is we have sick care. But what if we actually had healthcare? I have a friend of mine who opened up his you know what? I got to get you got to get this dude on the show, Rudy. He's amazing. He his whole business. Yeah. I'll send you his contact after this. His whole business model is exactly what we're talking about, right? Let's get you healthy. Let's set you some life goals. Let's talk about the future. Let's be proactive so you can live the life that you want to live, how you want to live it. Really cool. Really cool. Amazing human being.
Nice. Wait, T.A., seeing that you're talking about health and all these things, and we're talking about pharmaceuticals and your job, can you give us, I mean, of course you see things and, you're more aware. Can you kind of guide us on like maybe a day or two of the life in your industry, in your daily life?
Yeah. So somebody who has my career path, what you do, you more than likely work in a group environment, right? So maybe you have one coworker. There's a couple of lone wolf companies out there, but really you have 1 to 2 coworkers, and then you have like a geography that you cover, right? So you have, whether it's like hospitals or just specialty offices or family practice offices or internists or pediatricians, whatever it is, whatever medication you have, you kind of have a route where you just kind of understand a little bit about what how they treat. There's a lot of different approaches to managing medicine, and it really truly is an art. And so somebody in my industry, what you'll do is you have medication, and you just kind of go around the geography and find a need for this. So if you have an antibiotic, you talk about certain different infections that your antibiotic treats. If you have a cardiovascular drug, you're probably visiting cardiologists and talking about the clinical trials that you have, right? So it's not like you're not forcing anybody to do anything. It's just, just you bring an awareness because, healthcare providers are people, right? There's this stigma that, they're supposed to know everything all the time, and they're supposed to answer and respond to your every need. And that's just not reality because people aren't wired that way, right? So, part of somebody, in my job, you bring the latest clinical information around that different disease state or that therapeutic state. And you get their opinion about it, and then you show what you can do to meet that need. So that's kind of the way it works.
Well, Adrian, so then, TA, so do you carry a lot of different number of things, or you target only diabetes?
It just depends, man. Like throughout my career, I used to have one medicine, and then I went to 3, and then I kept 3, and then it went down to 2. Then it's been at 2 for a very long time. And then, it just kind of depends on the different companies, the different, products that you have, right? So like, let's say you sell insurance, right? You work for an insurance company. Well, you can do home and auto, you can do life insurance, you can do different mutual funds. It just depends on every single company. It's a little bit different.
I got you. See, I didn't know that. So then there's a number of reps out here pushing, or I wouldn't say pushing, I'd say more of informing the health services about their different drugs.
Yeah. And so the thing is, like, going back to what I said earlier, like, knowledge is power. We live in an underserved community, right? Hidalgo County is one of the poorest counties, just per capita, in the entire United States. And so the cool thing about my job is, like, I get to provide solutions for people who are economically disadvantaged, right? And a lot of the companies out here, not just the one I work for, but just a lot of different companies, if you can't afford a medication, there's a way where you can get it, right? There is always a way. So if even if you don't have insurance, I would say, especially if you don't have insurance, there is always a way, because a lot of these companies are so big, they're able to have what they call patient assistance programs, and they'll be able to help people within, income qualifications or guidelines to be able to get medicines to those people if they really need it. And so it's interesting. Like, it matters what physician you see, because there's a lot of offices that are willing to help people to do that, right? There's other offices, well, yeah, we have that. Here's the form, you have to fill it out. And the problem is a lot of people, they just want everything done for them. And, knowledge is power. You have to involve yourself in the process, especially if it's for a family member or something like that.
Well, so then, seeing that you're in this industry, and you're talking about people without Medicaid. Now we're talking about. I always used to tell people, for example, the whole healthcare and the Obamacare. I mean, me personally, living the area we live in, I was like, I don't need all that. I don't need to have insurance. I just go to Mexico, across the border, and pick up my meds, go see certain doctors. And growing up, I remember there was times where And my mom took me over there, and within 10 minutes, boom, in and out, you're done. Here's a medicine, here's a shot, and you're done.
Mhm.
What's your take on that and living in this cultural area that we live in?
Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing, right? That approach is better than nothing. And for people who live in this region,
Mm.
basically all across the United States-Mexico border, that's been a generational thing. So we've done that. The one that stands out the most is the dentists, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
you go to
like
professors
everybody
there and
goes to
everything.
Mexico
Yeah,
to get dental work done.
I'm personally scared to do it. I don't know. I went once. I got there and I said, no, I can't do this. I got to do it in the United States. I don't know what I needed done to my, and I ended up not doing it. But yeah, I couldn't do it. I got scared.
I mean, my just this is strictly my opinion. I haven't read any clinical data about this. You get what you pay for in anything, right? You get what you pay for. If I need a tooth pulled and I don't have the patience um, to wait for my dentist to see me, and I'm economically disadvantaged, and I can go to Mexico right now and get this tooth pulled, and it's going to cost me $50 or $100, you're probably going to do that, right? But if I'm in a financial place where I can save the tooth and they can chip away, they can work on it, and maybe I do it here, right? I mean, there's less risk. But going back to what I was saying about the clinical data, there is no FDA in Mexico, man. There is no FDA in Mexico. The regulations are a lot more relaxed, and we all know somebody who had a horrible experience, whether it was from a physician or bad Botox or implants or dental work where they have just pain for the rest of their life. There's a reason why people that go and they study, right, and then they open up a business in the United States. There's a reason why they do that, right? I mean, and then there's a reason why they can't work here sometimes. There's people who do their training over there and they open up shop down here. I have a lot of friends who went to medical school in Mexico,
Yeah,
and they're outstanding physicians. I mean, some of the most brilliant minds. But then you have to assume that there's people who went to medical school there, they can't practice here. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Why? Right? Why is that? And should I go and see that person over there?
yeah.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I know. Sometimes it could be a language barrier that they can't pass tests.
Yeah.
Not that they don't know the knowledge in their native tongue, but they just can't pass certain tests because of the language barrier. That might be one. Another thing is some people I mean, not maybe not dentists, but I mean there is just so many people that go down to Progreso or Matamoros or whatever it may be, and they pick up their medications for a lot cheaper, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are we doing? Are we overpricing? Is the insurance? What's your take on that? Or can you even comment on any of that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I get that question asked pretty often, and I don't know enough
Right.
about pricing and
Mm.
all of that. Yeah, it's like the molecule is the molecule, right?
Yeah.
Like
The
how do
formula is the
you
formula.
answer that question? And I really honestly don't know, man. That's an area of
Because it happened, and you know what? Another thing, it's not only Mexico; it happens up in Canada as well.
yeah. Yeah, I think there's like what is it about their government structure that they have in place where, I mean, do they have like a strict formulary that they use? Is it kind of like the Wild West? I know for a different company that I used to work for, there was an issue with the integrity of the molecules
Yeah.
that was being tampered with. This is going back like 12, 13 years. There was a lot of people that were winter Texans that they would live here in the wintertime and they would see their internist here and they would pick up their prescriptions in Mexico. This is before, the violence got out of control, right? So before
Right. Right.
2010. And then they would ask me, and it's like, I can't really respond to the question because you're talking to me about a substance that's in a package it says that's what the medication is, but the NDC number, there's no national drug code.
Oh,
It's just hearsay. There is no FDA NDC number. It was just kind of like, hey, they went to a pharmacy, they told them that's what this was, and they took it, and it caused, you know what I mean? So
it's tricky.
Street pharmacies, man. Street pharmacies in Progreso. I think Progreso is pretty good, though. They have a good reputation, though, right?
Yeah, they do. I mean, in the education field, and when I was having my tooth problems, I mean, I started asking around, and I had 4 or 5 different people. Had this one dentist, they swore by him, and then they had 3 or 4. No, you got to go to this guy, and and so they swore by the dentist. And then there's other people like, oh, I go get my medications there. So I mean, I guess it just depends, man. It's one of those things. I'm a big person on conspiracy, and I don't trust the government. I just don't. I don't like the way they spend money. I think there's frivolous spending, and I think Obamacare was a way. Don't get me wrong. It's a great idea at the grand scheme of everyone. It'd be cool for healthcare, but I think it's a loophole of overcharging for the insurance. People have to have insurance, and somebody's getting rich off of it, out of our tax dollars or our insurance premiums or whatever it might be. But that's just my own personal belief.
I don't know, Rudy, man. You're in the valley. You're bashing Obamacare. You're gonna upset a lot of people, man.
No, I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. I mean, I have it, but I'm not a fan of Obamacare, bro.
Yeah.
Like I said, not because of the pureness of what it's supposed to be. Awesome. Then you get into the loopholes or the cleverness of charging and billing, and I mean, I just think to myself, what? It just, but that's just me. But that's something that I wanted to bring up to you, seeing that you're in the pharmaceutical rep and medicine and all that. So I wanted to see your take on that.
Well, here's my opinion, right? Like if I'm a sitting U.S. congressperson, see, notice I didn't say congressman because, you piss off half the audience. Congressperson, right? It can be a man or a woman.
Right. That's a whole other issue right there.
That's a whole other issue, baby. But how many of them have Obamacare?
I have no idea. I
would probably say none.
They have their own private insurance.
I would probably say former President Barack Obama doesn't even have Obamacare.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like they probably have some really good plans.
Right.
I would assume that the government kind of picks up the tab on that. And if the government's kind of picking up the tab, and you're part of the government. I hate to sound a little skeptical, but you're probably going to have some really good insurance. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Then Mr. Garcia from Edinburgh, who doesn't have insurance and is paying a monthly premium, not because he really needs it, but because he doesn't want to get hit with the tax burden or the fine at the end. It's I don't really know how that works. I've had insurance. I've had private commercial insurance since 2005.
Okay.
So who knows? I mean, one of the cool things about Obamacare that I think it was Obamacare. I'm not sure if it was another piece of legislation. Maybe you can have the congressman on and he can explain it all since it's election season.
Yeah, I had a state rep here the other day.
Did you? Well, I mean, I think this would be more federal, right?
Right.
But I think one of the things about Obamacare is like it allowed people, like younger people who are still in that college, young adult, young career professional transition to be on their parents' insurance longer, which I thought that's pretty cool, right? Young people don't really get sick like that, but if they have, genetic, diseases, I think it's pretty cool that if you're 24, you don't have insurance, that your mother or your father or whoever you live with can, keep you on, even though at that age you should pretty much have your act together by then, right?
Man, there's 30, 40-year-olds that can't get their act together. But hey, whatever.
They're called adult children. There's a lot of adult children.
There's a lot of adult children, man, and it's hey. I'll see what happens with my children when they get older. And I told my wife when I was building the house, I said, I don't want big rooms. I want them small. I want them small. I want them to be uncomfortable. Hey, once you're too big, get out. I need you out of the house. I don't want you in my house. But that's just me, you know. And my wife's like, no, you know, got to make them big. And I said, man, no, I don't want them in my house. Once they're 9, 20, 25, once they're after college, hey, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to help you. I'll help you a little bit, but I can't be supporting you. But that's just me.
I know, man. I know.
Hey, let me ask you this. So, is there? I mean, I know you're supposed to. You know, you talk about being knowledgeable and all that stuff. Can you kind of go through and kind of explain how the pancreas works? Because is that the main culprit with diabetes, or what's the main culprit that? Why do we suffer from diabetes?
It depends, man. I think if you look at the pancreas, right, it's an interesting organ. So if you look at the pancreas, you think diabetes, you think the pancreas, but there's two types of diabetes, right? So there's type 1 diabetes, and then there's type 2 diabetes. And so if you look at all the different types, or like if you group every single person that has diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2, and then you split these people up, only 5% of these people have type 1, which historically has been called juvenile diabetes. That has a lot to do with the pancreas, yes. So what happens is
type 1 diabetes.
Type 1 diabetes. Okay, you know, it's usually a young person, even though it doesn't have to be, right? Jay Cutler, right? NFL quarterback, classic type 1 diabetic that happened later on in life. And so what happens is the pancreatic beta cells, they begin to die for some reason. And it's not fully known why that happens. There's a bunch of different, like we understand how it happens. We just don't know what the trigger is, whether it's environmental or genetic or a combination, an allergic reaction, right? So the pancreatic beta cells begin to die. And over time, that person
is that the how right there?
Yeah. So that's type 1, right? Which makes up only 5% of the people that have diabetes.
Whoa.
Right. So I don't know if you can think back, like when you were in high school or in elementary school, the kid that had to go to the nurse because they needed their insulin and they were like, you know, young, right? They had type 1 diabetes. Historically, it's called juvenile diabetes. Their pancreas doesn't work. The cells have died. They don't have a way to make insulin. They have to get it externally into their body with shots. Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
A different type of diabetes is called type 2 diabetes. In type 2 diabetes, the pancreas still works, but the body doesn't respond to the insulin, right? So that kind of diabetes is because of insulin resistance. So something has happened over time, and usually it's adults, right? But now it's starting to happen in young children because of the diet and the lifestyle choices that parents make for these kids, right? But mostly it's adults, and usually it's later in life, but it's getting younger. What happens with type 2 diabetes? Now, this type of diabetes makes up 95% of the people that have diabetes, and a lot of it is largely preventable. And that has to do with insulin resistance that's happening in the cellular level, right? So the body makes insulin, it just doesn't really respond to it. So that's problematic because, you know, that leads to a lot of other metabolic situations there. One thing that we do know that contributes to insulin resistance is obesity, weight gain, right? Genetic, right? So like generations of larger people, right? You know, what exactly am I saying? Well, if I'm very overweight and then I come from a family that has really had struggles with their weight for whatever reason, that came from a family who's had struggles with their weight. And I have family members who have type 2 diabetes. You know, grandma, she got type 2 diabetes. She got diagnosed at 68, right? Yeah. And now, you know, a parent that I have may or may not be borderline. And then I myself, I'm like 48 pounds overweight. Yeah, man. I mean, there's a risk factor there. It needs some serious attention. So I don't know if that answers your question around the pancreas.
Yeah.
Kind of went off on a rant.
No, and that's great. The reason I was asking is for people that watch this episode is for them to have an understanding, because I don't have an understanding of it. I don't know about the type 1, the beta cells. You said they're dying, you said?
Yeah, so they begin to
Type
die.
1.
In type 1, yeah. So they start dying over time. And then right before they die completely, they just go into overdrive and work like one last ditch effort before they permanently die.
Wow.
And so somebody who has a non-functioning pancreas, they'll usually be on an insulin pump, or they have to inject insulin several times per day, sometimes right before meals. In fact, those patients for sure have to inject right before meals. Usually they're not overweight, they're thinner, they're very health conscious, they exercise a lot, they're very aware of the carbohydrates, they count carbohydrates, they know, how to count carbs. I mean, they can just look at the food on the table and they already know exactly how much insulin they're going to have to inject because they're just so used to it. Yeah. These people are usually pretty healthy, right? They exercise, they live life to the fullest. They want to squeeze out every ounce of fun out of life they can. And those people are super awesome, man. I know a bunch of people like that.
That's it. And see, that's why I was asking. I was like, share some knowledge. And then type 2, man, it's just, so the main issue is being a little being overweight.
Physical inactivity and extra weight. Yeah, those two factors contribute to type 2 diabetes, which a lot of it is very preventable.
Man, we suffer from that. I would say we suffer from that a lot here in the Valley, no?
Yeah. The way they measure that is called like a hemoglobin A1C number.
Yeah.
So if you look at your A1C scores, or sometimes people look at their fasting, but I don't really get into those fasting blood sugars. It's more A1C. The thing is, like, it matters how you get there, right? Like, how do you get to these numbers, right? I think what a lot of the really good healthcare providers and a lot of good patients that manage your health, they're not looking at their number, they're looking at the person. Like, let's say I have type 2 diabetes. I'm not looking at the numbers on a piece of paper that I wrote down when I did a finger stick. I'm looking at myself in the mirror and how I feel that day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just like physicians, right? They're not looking at your numbers on a paper. The ones that are really managing your care, they look at the numbers on a paper, but they treat the person. They don't treat the masses, they treat you.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Which is, I mean, it's good information. So I guess at the end of the day, it's make sure you take care of your diet. Bottom line, huh?
Move your body. And you are what you eat, man. And as you can tell by the camera, I'm a lot of things right now.
I think you look pretty good, man. I think you look pretty good.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. Thanks. Maybe it's because we're gonna do another episode of the show, man. You're trying to be too kind. You're trying to bring me back.
No, man, it's pretty good. I like what you said. We have sick care, not health care. I like the fact that you shared the diabetes stuff, man. I'm just so intrigued by that because, there's a supplement we have called Glucoach, and I wonder how it pertains to when you talk about the beta. You said beta cells, right? The beta cells dying.
Yeah, beta cells.
And
beta cell failure.
Right, and then you said they don't understand why it happens, but they understand how. And then of course the whole A1C. And so what do you know, like when people have like 200, 300, 400, 700, because I've heard some people have 700 levels of glucose. Like, what is that? Like, how are they alive? Is that possible?
It's possible. It's very dangerous. It's called glucose toxicity. So basically you're poisoning your body with sugar, right?
Oh, snap.
I mean, yeah. So again, how I opened the conversation, right? How the body can adapt. With a blood sugar of 700, 800, 900, it's bad. It's very, very bad. And you can only do that to your body for so long before there's consequences.
Right. So when those numbers are there, what's going? Do you know like the explanation in the body? What's going on there or no?
Yeah, the person ate a lot. They ate a lot of sugar, and the body's not using it because of their insulin
Oh.
resistant.
So when you say insulin resistant, let's dumb it down. What does that mean?
That means that the insulin that my pancreas produces, because I have a functioning pancreas,
Right.
it produces insulin, but it's not doing what it's intended to do because the cells are blocking it. Right. So here's the thing, right? It's like a vicious cycle, right? So the cells need energy. So you're hungry, so you eat. That glucose gets broken down and it's in the blood. So you have high blood glucose. That glucose doesn't belong in the blood, it belongs in the muscular tissue.
Mm.
The muscular tissue is not allowing the insulin that allows the use of the glucose, right? So it's a tricky thing. So what happens is the body's saying, I'm starving, I need energy. It triggers a signal in the brain to eat more. So you eat more, so you have higher blood glucose. It's just a dysfunction. It's impaired. It's not, the whole cascade is not working correctly. So you have hot, like going back to that blood sugar of 7, 8, 900, that blood sugar should not be in the blood, right? The blood sugar should be 70 to 90, 120 highest. It should be in the tissues to be using that glucose as energy, but it's not doing that.
So, and I'm assuming the more active we are throughout our lifetime, the easier it is for our bodies to obviously process that stuff, to use it, I mean?
Yeah, it's normal, right? It's normal to use insulin, right? The good Lord made us with insulin, with glucagon, with glucose. It's part of our everyday lives, right? All mammals too, other animals have, blood sugars, and what they are, who knows? But, we don't move around that much. And so if you want that system to continue to work, you have to have a healthy weight. You have to physically move your body frequently
to use up that way we don't have too much of it.
So we didn't have too much of it. Right?
Interesting, man. That's really interesting. I'm glad you shared that knowledge with us, man.
Super interesting, man. Super interesting. The human body is, I get captivated, man, when I look at like human physiology.
Yeah.
And then you look at physiology of other animals, and then you look at trees and how they exist. It's like the world is a beautiful place, man. Like I have a biblical worldview, right? So I believe in the Creator, and the way He made us is like incredible. Right? We can have the greatest minds on earth, and we can create and invent all this technology and all these things, and it pales in comparison to the existence of just life and the way it works. Like you just take a human person at birth. What a miracle that is. How did that even happen? Like, you held your kid when the day they're born. It's like miracle, man. It's a miracle.
Yeah, no doubt. It's one of the scariest and most exciting days of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, okay, time to take care of this human.
That's right, man. Yeah. It's a cool thing, man. It's a cool thing. I think the more we learn and the more we know about things, the more we realize we don't really know anything.
No. Yeah, we just know a little bit.
Like there's a quote I like to say. It's like, I have enough wisdom to know I don't have enough wisdom.
Yeah, you don't know anything.
I know enough to know that I don't know enough.
Yeah. I've heard that quote. It's a good quote.
Yeah. Now you got to be careful with people that know everything, man. You got to run. You got to go the other way.
Man, I think over time I've learned that you got to listen. You got to listen to people, and I like that. And see, that's one of the main reasons I had to, I started off with a show is I want people to share information so we learn. We learn from everybody. You have an expertise. We learn from that. Of course, I have other coaches. My show is either coaching, about training the body or politics in the local area, especially in the La Jolla area, Palmview area. I got to get into the mission. I know I had the McCann school board member. So, it's learning about either politics or the human being and how to make them effective and efficient. I'm a big fan of sports and making sure that my athletes are one of the best trained athletes out there. Not saying I'm the best coach. I know there's a lot better coaches than me out there, but I'm on a quest. Like I always say, I'm on a quest for knowledge. This podcast is on a quest of knowledge. So I thank you for sharing the information you have, Adrian.
Yeah, man, it's not a journey, right? We have to be careful the words that we use, because if you say I'm on a journey for knowledge, well, that's just like I'm on a journey. There is no inroad. There's no plan. I'm basically like wandering around in the wilderness. But if I'm on a quest, I already know the ending point. I already know what I want. So
yeah,
I like that word, quest. Yeah. A quest for knowledge.
I saw it from that cartoon that my kids watch.
Hey man, so what's up with the political situation and the national level, man? It seems like things are heating up in the United States of America, huh? I don't know if you want to get into it because, I don't know if you have enough bandwidth to cover that topic tonight.
I'll tell you what. Some people get. You know what? I talked to. Do you remember B.J. Jones?
B.J. Jones,
big guy, huge. I mean, he was. So I talked to him. He used to be a sheriff. He's a cop, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna call B.J. up. I hadn't heard from him in a while. I said, hey B.J., I want to invite you to the show, and you talk to us from a cop standpoint. You're a black man in America. You're a cop. Come on the show. He's like, man, Rudy, I'm not going to go on the show. I like to stay away from that kind of stuff. But he did talk to me for about a good 45 minutes to an hour on the phone about his perspective and things that we need to know. And we ended up talking about, racism and the whole Black Lives Matter issue. And there's people about the Black Lives Do Matter, but then you also separate the whole, what's it called? The whole movement and the what is it? Corporation or what would you call that? The organization of it. So we talked about that. So it's tough, man. And then see, I'll tell you what, TA. When it comes to national politics, my biggest thing is this: we gotta stop this bipartisan stuff. That to me is bottom line. Forget you're a Republican. Forget you're a Democrat. What are you doing for the American people without the whole, it's not part of my party? I don't care what party you're in. What are you doing for the American people?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way, right? I mean, there's different persuasions that people grow up with, right? So there's a lot of people that vote for the way that their parents did. And so whatever reason that is, like, who knows, man, maybe modeling, right? It's like psychological modeling. But I think if you really ask the large majority of Americans, how do you feel about this specific issue? I think that you'll have probably anywhere from 70 to 80% of Americans that agree on almost everything. And then you have the fringes on the end, whether it's like radical left or radical right. You have that 10% that really seem to screw it up for everybody, right? And so because we're polarized and we have a news media that, it's basically a giant Facebook page, right? That's what it is, right?
With only one perspective and convenience. They only share perspective and convenience.
Yeah, well, they're selling you something, dude.
Yeah.
Right? They're pitching you a bill of goods on one side, and on the other side, they're doing the exact same thing. And then they make you think, well, these are the only two choices you have. And I think when the founders founded the country, I don't think that they realized that it was going to be a split two-party system. You remember that guy, Jesse Ventura? He's like super controversial, right? He was a former governor, WWE wrestler, Navy SEAL, right?
Right.
He gave this interview a long time ago, and I'll never forget it. He said, I don't like the two-party system. It gives you one more choice in communist China. Like, if you think about it, it's kind of true, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a weird thing. Like, communism is so bad, and all of these communist countries, but like we have one more choice than they do.
Yeah. It's true. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna send you a link, and I'll post it on Facebook. Is Joe Rogan is talking to who's that? Tulsi Gabbard. Have you seen Tulsi Gabbard?
I don't know who that is. No, I know who Joe Rogan is. I mean,
okay. So she was running
JRE.
for the Democratic. She wants to be the Democratic candidate for the presidency, right? She didn't win. I didn't know who she was. Now I know who she is. I'm a big fan. I should have known about her before the whole election there. And she has one of the episodes with Joe Rogan she's in is when she gets to Congress, it's talks about how we don't go talk to them. They're Republicans. We stick to our people, and it's like what? It's like no, and it's very interesting. I'm gonna send you that link. I'll probably post it on Facebook. It's a very nice 10-minute watch, I guess, viewing that we get to understand that we got to get rid of this bipartisan thinking, man.
Hey, is she the one that used to be former military?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I really liked her, man. She they didn't give her a chance though, right?
Well, the media kind of, focuses on certain people they want to win. That's the bottom line. We fall for the media. We fall for whoever's on TV, whoever they cover the most. That's probably who we're going to vote for.
Yeah, you know what they should do? And I think if you ask Americans, both Democrat and Republican, I think they would definitely agree to this. Term limits, right? So if you say, hey, whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, you've already served 2 terms, or maybe increase it, right? Maybe just say 3 terms or 4. Like, yeah, that's enough, dude. You've been there long enough. You served the people long enough.
Your bank account has grown significantly.
You made it, right? You hit the jackpot. You have private insurance for life. No. I guess the real question is, at what point do you stop serving the people and do you start serving yourself, right? I mean, if you ask most people, term limits is probably a good thing. And that when you have a term limit, then you stop a little bit about the polarization, right? The divisiveness that, that's biblical, man. Like if you look, there's this verse in the Bible, it says a house divided itself will not prosper, and a kingdom divided itself won't stand. And so that's wisdom from like thousands of years ago. And like, look at our country right now, man. We're destroying ourselves. There's no other foreign power or entity that's wrecking ourselves. We're doing it to ourselves. We stop caring about each other.
It's tough, man. It's tough. It's I don't know, man. I'll tell you what though, when you talk about term limits, well, someone has to vote on that. Someone has to vote on that.
Somebody has to introduce that legislation, right?
So the people that are going to vote on that are basically going to vote themselves out of the seat they have. There's no way they're going to vote themselves out.
Right.
So
that's the problem.
And I'll tell you what, I'm a big, from now on, when I used to go to the polls, I would go and like, okay, I'm going to vote for either whichever president, right? Obama or Hillary or back in the day, even before it was Obama or who was it, George or Bush or whoever it was, right? And that's all I knew. Now it's like, okay, now in my mind, I'm like, I don't care. To be honest with you, I don't care about the presidency. I don't care. I mean, yeah, I'm going to vote for them, but I'm worried about who's been in Congress for more than 2 years, more than 2 terms. That's automatic for me. I can't vote for that person anymore. I will never vote for a person that's been in Congress longer than 2 terms. So when I'm going to go to the polls, I'm doing my research. Okay, who am I about to vote for in about 2 weeks? And it doesn't, even a day before. Okay, you've been there 3 terms. I can't vote for you anymore. I need someone new. And that's my thing. No, I think it's the voters' fault that we go in like, oh, the president. And then you get all these names and you have no idea who they are. Railroad commissioner. Well, how long has this guy been a railroad commissioner? You don't know. You just say, well, I'm going to click on this name. How many times have you voted for somebody you have no idea who they are, how long they've been there?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and then they allow you the straight ticket, right? which is
I think that
problematic.
I think they don't allow that anymore. I think
They,
I think that
did they
just
remove
changed.
that?
I think they just changed that.
Did they?
Yeah, yeah.
This
But that
election
was
cycle?
I think so. Yeah, I think who was it? Some people posted on that on one of my threads, but even then, the last time I went, I said, "Well, I want to vote for both sides." Like some people I'll vote Republican, some people I'll vote for Democrat, but not because they're Republican or Democrat. My thing is, okay, I know you've been there too long. I cannot vote. I don't care how good you are. You need to get out. You need to get out. I need someone new. And that's my personal take. I mean, unless they're super straight, but man, I mean, learning about local politics in the area and the region, I got involved with the commissioner's race, the way people work and the chess game that it is. Nah, man, we just need, after a certain number of years, I'm a believer that we just need new people.
Yeah, I mean, well, they say that all politics are local, right? All politics are local. In other words, like, what are the issues that affect you and your family the most? Whether it's like school district, well, that's the school board.
It's local.
Right?
Yeah, you get affected the most by the local politics.
Yeah, your taxation rates, right? You know, that's going to be your local commissioners and all of that stuff. But a lot of people don't involve themselves into those decisions, right? I mean, because again, they bought into what's on CNN or Fox or ABC or whatever.
They don't talk about Congress. They talk about the president. That's it.
Yeah. And like, how much does that one person really affect you? I guess this last election, I guess some people could say a lot, right? The President Trump's decisions with, I think the Republican Senate, and I think the Republicans had the House, I think, part of the election cycle, the first 2 years, I think. You say, well, that really did affect me for reasons X, Y, and Z. But then, you look at the previous administration, going back to, the way we opened the conversation with the gentleman that you mentioned, the police officer, with, the race issues in the United States, right? Like, why is all of that happening right now when several years back we had an African-American president who was voted into office with an African-American attorney general who could have done prison reform, right? Like, I do prison ministry. I've done that before. And man, I feel bad for these people because a lot of times they know that they don't belong there. Some people belong there for sure, right? They've had many chances, but there's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, man, they just, they got a court appointed, or they just, fell on a bad path. They were wrapped up with the wrong people. And then they're just in the system for years and years, decades even. And then they go and they do it again because they can't get a job anywhere. Like, I don't know, man. It's just another story for another day. But let's look at the broader issue and what we have been able to do historically, and how come it hasn't been done, and why does it need to be done right now? And what is it that we want, right? We can't just throw a temper tantrum and burn stuff down. We have to come up with a general plan and say, hey, look, this is what we want. Local politicians, this is the best idea for our community, and it's going to change from place to place. That was a mouthful, man. Sorry, went off on a rant.
No. Hey, I'm sure people have different opinions, and J Lash says that we haven't aged in about 20 years. Check it out. Let me put it up there.
You guys haven't aged in 20 years. Shout out to J Lash. What's up, baby? Welcome to the RGV. You need to get him on the show, dude.
I should. Where is he working? I know I'm a road reach. I got to reach out to him. I reached out to him about researching those transfer factor molecules. He never got back to me, but it's okay. I understand he's a doctor. Well,
because he has all this extra time to just do that, right?
Yeah. I understand. I understand the time consumption. He's a busy guy. So yeah, man, it's that politics is a very interesting thing, but everybody has their points of views. But I'm at the point that we need to be more educated when we do go vote, and then not about the president. It's more about the local, the region, the state. Bottom line, especially with those terms, we can't. If we're voting people in that have been there for 16, 20, 24 years, there's only the voters that we're to blame. We're to blame, not anyone else. We need to get educated on who we're voting for. That's it. And you remember? Oh, okay. You remember Ann Angler, of course, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Remember
So
Ann?
me and Ann, she taught me how to protest taxes on property taxes. So right now there's a movement growing. It's a movement that's growing on. Hopefully, legislature in the state of Texas can do something. I brought Oscar Longoria up here. It's, we got to stop this property tax hike. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous, right? But we'll see what happens. First and foremost, people need to protest their taxes, and I don't know if it's locally, if we need to change whoever's in the office that does that, the appraisal district. But man, it's all over the state that it's getting ridiculous. There's some loopholes, some deals that are being made there with all the tax dollars, and the more they increase it, someone's benefiting, and I don't think it's the citizens. But that's just my own personal opinion. I need more proof. I need to investigate.
Property taxes are interesting, right? Like, think about that. So let's say you have a mortgage and you have a 30-year mortgage and you pay it off early, right? Just throw a random number out there. 150 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand, whatever, right?
Let's just say 200. Why not?
Let's just say 200. You pay it off. Okay. You paid interest on this money because you had to borrow it, right? So you paid a hell of a lot more than 200.
So let's say 350 total.
Let's say 350, right? But it's paid off.
Right.
It's yours, sort of, right? Not really.
It's not yours.
It's not yours.
Because you keep paying about what, 4,000, 5,000 every year?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't pay that?
They take your house away, I'm assuming?
They can, yeah.
Man.
They can. I mean, I don't think it happens often, right? But it's not ever really yours. You pay off the mortgage, but you're basically paying rent forever and ever and ever and ever.
I ran the math. And you end up paying a lot less when you just live in an apartment. Granted, you don't have the whole, it's your house and your yard or whatever it might be.
It's never yours.
But mathematically, you end up paying a lot less just renting an apartment or renting a home. You end up paying a lot less. But
it's never yours, right? Somebody brought that to my attention. We had like it was like a political conversation that turned into something else. He's like, yeah, he was one of these. I think it was back like in 2008 when I had first started, like, actually given somewhat of a crap about politics at the national level. And we got into this conversation. The guy was just saying, like, yeah, you have a mortgage, which I didn't at the time. He's like, well, you have a mortgage, you pay it off. It's never yours. You have to keep paying your $500, $500 per month for rent. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, no, your taxes. I was like,
Hey, death and taxes, buddy. Death and taxes.
Those are the two things you can't escape, right?
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What are you gonna do?
Unless you have a good tax attorney, right?
I guess. I don't know. Hey, that's why I have my little businesses, man. The claim expense. I'll tell you what, though, when Trump came in, even my guy, he goes, man, this guy messed you guys up because now you can't claim a lot of stuff that teachers, educators used to. There's a lot of things that we couldn't claim expenses on anymore.
Like what?
I have no idea. He just told me, like, we're not gonna be like, I remember what was it? I don't remember, but it was teachers lost out when Trump did some kind of policy at the national level that we couldn't do it anymore. I was like, okay, I guess. But fortunate for me, I have my little businesses, my trainings and the For Life and my reffing and now my Mendez Sports training that I claim a lot of expenses there.
Man, you know what I was made aware of? I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, my aunt, she's a teacher, and she was telling me that she was spending a significant chunk of her paycheck buying resources for the students in her classroom.
Oh, man.
Dude, like, that was heartbreaking for me, man. Like, I was so upset about that. Like, really? Like, we can't buy freaking construction paper for the kids to learn? Why are you paying for that? Like, her bulletin board, borders and a bunch of things. And then I started looking into it. And in Oklahoma, the teachers were spending a ton of money to supply their classroom. I'm like, what the heck, man? What's going on? That doesn't sound right, you know?
Yeah, a lot of teachers don't like that, man. I mean, just look at it. There's stores for teachers where teachers go and buy stuff for their class.
That's crazy, dude. That should never be. That should never be. That, you know, you should say, hey, look, here, there should be a budget for that in every school district. You say, look, this is what the teacher bought, right? Here are my receipts.
Yeah.
Reimburse me. Because I'll tell you what, man, it takes a very special person to monitor 22 kids from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and still have a smile on your face at the end of the day the next day.
Well, you were there. You know what it's like.
And that's because I had high school kids, which I think were easier.
Yeah, the high school kids, everybody I talk to, the high school kids are the easiest. Junior high is kind of tough. Elementary is a long day. Man, so.
Junior high is just interesting, man, because you can have like a sixth grade boy and like an eighth grade girl, and they got nothing in common, dude. Like nothing. And they're sitting, you know, not right next to each other, but they're going to the same school. It's just such a weird, awkward time. Yeah, shout out to all the teachers watching, man. You guys, like, salute you guys, because it's a thankless job.
You need to the show I had on Sunday with Pamela Flores. She's running for school board candidate seat 7, I think it is. I had her on the show, and man, she brought up some very good points. You might want to catch her comments.
Yeah, for sure.
Very interesting. Then I had Marco Suarez, who's a mechanic school board member. He was pretty cool. He informed me a little bit. I'll tell you what though, I've been learning. The more people I interview, the more I learn. So it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It's there's a lot to learn. Read a lot of books, man. I read a lot. I turned into a reader, I would say about 6 years ago. I started reading a lot of books on business, on just random topics that I'm interested in. Not too many political books, but, you know, books on like spiritual growth, history, novels, just reading, man. It's a cool thing.
Well, when we were in regular schedule, I would do audiobooks. A lot of my niche there is a lot of reading or listening to the human body performance athletes. I'm on a quest to make sure that when my athletes come in through my program for 3 years, that they reach their own personal max potential, because everybody's different. Everybody's gonna, you know, me and you. You can be a lot faster than I am. No matter how, we train exactly the same, depending on how many fibers you have, and you know, jumping high, even jumping, you know, I can out jump you even though you're supposed to jump further than me or higher than me. But if you train a certain way and certain ligaments and tendons and muscles, and there's a science behind it, man. It's pretty interesting. So I do a lot of reading like that, that kind of reading.
That kind of reading.
The subject, yeah, those subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I watch YouTube and lots of trainers, and it's good. It's good, man.
Hey, do you know about this guy named Saif Saad? I think that's his name. Let me look it up. I want to be sure and tell you the right guy, because I think you'll appreciate it.
Saif Saad.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm pulling up his Instagram profile.
What does he do?
He's the coach of the year for mixed martial arts in the UFC.
Okay.
Let me see. Saif Saad, Sayifsaud. He's the owner and founder of Fortis MMA. Here's his quote on his Instagram. It says, "Hard work is always good work." And so this guy, coach of the year, man. So he's got this mixed martial arts school in Dallas. And I kid you not, his UFC athletes that he coaches, they are on rampages. It's the most bizarre thing that we've seen. Like, you know, that's my sport, right? Mixed martial arts. I followed that sport almost from day one. And so this guy, he's got multiple athletes that are at the highest level of mixed martial arts that go to his school, the only common denominator is that they train together and he's their coach. They have different weight classes. They have different body compositions, different reach, different lengths, different foundational
I'm gonna have
strengths.
to look him up. I want to tweak into his pick his brain.
You have to look at what he's doing.
Does he have a YouTube or is it a book?
No, he's just a MMA coach. He has a website, right? I mean, maybe you can find, like, I know one of the guys that he coaches is Carlos Diego Ferreira, who's, number like for sure top 10 on the planet. I think he's like number 7 or 8 in the world at 155, and he's right here. He's in Far Texas. He's got his own gym.
Oh, snap! Really?
Yeah, dude, he is on a rampage in the UFC right now.
Wow. But he trains in Dallas every once in a while, or what?
Yeah, so I think like he drives over there and trains there, and he has his own school here, but that's his coach, the guy that I'm telling you about.
Okay.
And there's several fighters that this guy coaches that are on like, 3, 4, 5 fight winning streaks in the UFC. And so what is it about him and his program that's different than some of these other programs where you have world-renowned MMA guys that are, they'll win one, they'll lose one, they'll, win 2, lose 2, but like not this guy. This guy, his fighters are just winning and winning and winning. Oh, and then they're male and they're female. How do you explain that? Different weight classes, guys at 155, 170, and then you have female fighters that are like at 125. The only common denominator is their coach.
That's interesting. It's funny you mentioned about male and females. I shared this story on when Pamela was on it, and it was my wife she went to TrueFit one time by herself. A trainer came up to her and told her you shouldn't be doing bench press or dumbbell. I think she was doing dumbbell flies, right, in the bench. And she came home and she told me, she goes, "What do you think? Should I be listening?" I was like, "What do you mean no? Like, you have muscles, pectoral muscles. Like, you have to do, it's part of the human body. There's muscles." And I said, "Man, see, that's why half the trainers don't know what they're talking about, man." But the point of the moral of the story is, this guy trains girls. He obviously knows something. He's doing something right. I need to research this guy. I'm gonna look him up.
Check him out, man. I think the story is pretty interesting. I think he just recently won an award in July for like mixed martial arts coach of the year or something. But all of his guys are like on a rampage. Yeah.
How hard is it to train? Because you've trained a little bit.
Sheesh, dude. Yeah, man. Those guys, there's levels, bro. My heart goes out to any professional mixed martial artist out there, because aside from the skill set that these athletes have, the internal drive to be successful is, I know several professional athletes from other sports, and I know their mindset. This is a different breed of human being, man. Yeah. I've never seen that level of determination, how guys just keep coming. They just keep training. They put in the time, day after day after day after day. It goes to show what's possible with the human body when you treat it the right way, and when you have the mind right. So that's the thing. You can have guys and girls they're at their peak, they're super skilled, but their mind is off. They don't perform, for whatever reason. And then you have people that are just mentally tough, that don't have the skill set, and they find a way to be successful in the sport. But the great guys, they're the ones that they put it all together. But yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough. I think I'm a big guy, right? So I'm 6'3". If I was competing, I would probably cut down to about 170, 185, just because of my body structure. Yeah, 170, 185. I'm nowhere near that right now, right? Not even close. And the closest I ever got, the closest I ever got was, about 202 pounds. So I'd probably be able to cut down, right, to that, the peak shape. These guys walk around like if they fight at 155, they walk around at 185 pounds, and they cut a large majority of that weight the week before they compete. I mean, it's incredible the way they know how to eat, how to train, how to cut down. It's incredible. You can write books about this stuff.
So that's what you do on your spare time. You follow UFC, huh?
I mean, for a while, it was the only sport that was on. It ruined sports for me.
Yeah.
Mixed martial arts ruined sports for me. It ruined other sports.
How so?
Because it made everything else completely boring to me. Like, I'm a baseball guy. I can't sit and watch a baseball game unless it's the World Series now. Can't do it. I can do it live, but it's not.
Live's pretty cool.
Live's very cool. Especially if you're with your family and stuff like that. It's just so slow, man.
Yeah.
So I tell people who don't know anything about mixed martial arts, right? They're new to it. They're checking it out. The thing that they think of is like boxing, and it's like nothing like that. I mean, there's boxing in it, but the excitement.
Huge difference.
Okay, so soccer, right? When there's like penalty kicks at the end.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Picture soccer penalty kicks or college football overtime from the point the bell rings.
From start to finish.
From start to finish. Like there's so many different ways that you can win or lose. It makes it super, super exciting. Super exciting.
Dang.
I don't know.
No,
yeah, that's my sport, man. It ruined everything.
I'll tell you
else.
what, the biggest memory I have of MMA is Lucas Cuevas. His dad goes out on vacation over to California when I'm living out there. Lucas flies in. We're hanging out for the weekend. We drive up to meet his family, his dad's family up in what's that place called? Delano, or where's that movie called? De La Salle, or no, not De La Salle. What's it called? That movie with the runners, the cross country movie? McFarland.
Yeah.
So we're up there by McFarland, and Lucas is like, "Hey man, we gotta find a spot to watch this fight, man." I'm like, "What are you talking about, man?" Because hey man, I don't even remember who was. I think Rampage Jackson was fighting. He's a big black guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was gonna fight somebody. This is back in like 2009, 2010. Yeah, right. No, maybe sooner than 2008. And I'm like, man, Lucas, man, chill out, man. We gotta find somewhere to watch this fight. Man, I don't care about this stuff, man. He goes, Rudy, you don't understand, man. And you know how Lucas gets. So we find some country bar, And,
shout out to Lucas if he's watching.
Yeah, and we go watch it, and I mean it's packed. A packed house. I'm like, what in the world? What is this? I mean, and it was a pretty good. I mean, I guess it's fun. It is entertaining. That's for sure. But that's my biggest highlight of my MMA watching career. I mean, I've gone and seen others, but that was the biggest memory I have of watching because Lucas was so adamant about we have to watch this fight. It was good. It was a good fight.
Yeah. It's an incredible sport, and for a while it was the only thing that was on, right? Like Dana White, the owner of the UFC.
Yeah.
They have Fight Island now, so they found a way to kind of socially distance and screen, and
kind of like the NBA bubble, kind of like it.
Kind of like the NBA bubble, yeah. I mean, and the cool thing is like you have people from all over the world,
yeah,
right? So like the NBA, there's leagues in Europe. There's leagues in, Asia.
But
soccer, same thing.
They don't play each other. They don't play the best.
They don't play each other. Mixed martial arts is global. Like if there's a guy named Peter Yan, right? I think he's Russian, or I forget his nationality, but like he's going to fight the best guy that there is in the United States, and they're going to meet up on some island with 25 people watching, and they're broadcasting it to the world, and the better man's going to win. Like, dude, that's so freaking exciting,
It is. So when you were training, like, do you fight like in the sparring, or it's just more like technique and drills and skills?
I never got to the level where we went sparring hard. I think we were maybe like 70%, 60 to 70%. And so like when you start off, you don't do that, right? So like maybe I would say about 6 months in, 5-6 months in, the coach will kind of, like for me, because of my body size, I was basically used as a punching bag. Because to train like the other guys that actually had a chance, right? The younger guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I was older, right? I was in 30, probably at the peak. My peak shape I was 35. You just can't compete, dude. Father time. I mean, you have these 22-year-old kids who sleep till 11 o'clock and they just eat and they train all day long. And here I am. I've been at work from 7:45 to 5 o'clock, and I barely change to get there in time for the class.
No.
I mean, it's just, there's levels, But yeah, I mean, you go to work with a few black eyes here and there.
Really?
Yeah.
You get socked here and there, huh?
Yeah, because you're not trying to hurt each other. It's a team. It's a team. Like, you're trying to learn, and I mean, nobody's trying to hurt the other person, right? You get to know these people. They're, most martial artists, you'll find they don't have anything to prove to anybody. They're very nice people. They're very good people. And whenever a knucklehead goes into the gym, he doesn't really last because he gets put in his place by those guys that have been there a while, right?
Real quick.
So it's just like a cool family environment. I just, my kids started public school, and I couldn't keep up with the pace, man. I had to make decisions. But yeah, man, it's fun. So yeah, you do get connected. You do get clipped. Some guys get shots, and then when you get two very good guys sparring, like when somebody's competing, they push that person. If somebody's going to be, if they have like a fight coming up, or they begin, their weight cut, or they're going to have like a few days of hard sparring before they compete, a few weeks leading up to that, they go hard. Like I have seen some scraps there in gyms locally around here where it's like, wow, that could have been on TV, man. Those guys were going hard.
Damn, like that.
But that's how you get better.
Pretty cool.
It's cool stuff.
TA, I'm gonna have to cut you out. I gotta wake up early. I got my second day of school virtual learning, man. But hey, nice catching up. Thank you for the information, the knowledge. I really appreciate it, brother.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. Move your body, make good choices.
For sure. All
right,
take
bro.
it easy, man.
Hey, take care, man. Later.
Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is Adrian Garcia, aka TA, fraternity brother of mine. Brought him in to talk about his pharmaceuticals and what kind of advice he has for us, and some pretty good information that he shared with us about the whole the way diabetes works, and it's interesting. Some good knowledge. Hopefully, some of you listen and gain some knowledge from that aspect. Once again, this broadcast was brought to you by World Finance. When life throws unexpected expenses your way, World Finance is here to help. Whether it's medical bills, car repairs, or child care expenses, a personal installment or title loan can help you take control and get back to the good things in life. Get started by applying today at their Mission location at 1600 North Conway, Suite A, Mission, Texas. They can take applications by phone at 956-580-4533, or you can visit their website at loansbyworld.com. They are accepting applications with matriculas, passports, or ITIN. You do not need to have a social to apply. All loans are subject to their usual credit underwriting policies. That is World Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Till next time, I will be back on Thursday night talking sports. We'll see. Have a good night. Peace.